Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky. And we're back for another week, another exciting week, I should say, of Joe on Joe Illustrated, where we look at every issue of G.I. Joe Real American Hero in sequential order, page by page, panel by panel, excruciating detail. So you're in for a good time. It's excruciating, everybody. And today we are covering G.I. Joe number 95. It's part 2 of the Snake Eyes trilogy. If you're a Joe fan and you haven't read this, what are you doing? You need to read this trilogy. It's fantastic. I learned a lot in this issue, both from the letters page and from a little Wikipedia search about some of the characters in this book, which is something that I never really truly fully got when I was a child. And it involves S&M and bondage and torture. So, listeners, there might be some discussion of that today. I'll try to keep it as PG as possible, but it's in the book. And remember, it's a book that Marvel decided to advertise with Star Comics. So there's that, which is hilarious. We normally always start the show with our segment, the segment.
You were saying?
But this is a comic book that was going bi-weekly, so every 2 weeks. So we covered all the other comic books that were on the shelf the month that this book came out. We covered them last week on when we did G.I. Joe 94. So if you're interested in finding out some more about comic books that were on the shelf at the same time, listen to last week's episode. I think you'll enjoy it. The other thing you should be listening to is the Movies and a Meal podcast.
Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie? It's about not 2 movies. It's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben, and each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out 1 episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show.
Now, before we get into G.I. Joe number 95, I've got a couple of cleanup things. As always, friend of the show and great guy to know and great guy to follow. He does a lot of great cosplay and actually a ton of really cool custom toy stuff. So a lot of you Joe collectors, if you're looking for fun custom toys, find our friend Dave Amiot. It's at Damiot on Instagram. But Dave's always great with corrections. It's funny. He's always there to tell me when I'm wrong. I'm just kidding. It's true, though. But I appreciate it because I don't have a lot of the stuff I don't have time to research. And one of the things he points out to me is from that letters page, the guy that we actually sent the letter to, I think back in the day, they were missing the ability to put the accent on it. It's Duce. Duce as in like Mussolini, which then Larry referenced talking about swinging from a lamppost. So I was calling him Deuce. And that's who we did send the letter to, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw it. I absolutely sent the letter to Deuce, or Duce, as Dave properly points out, last week. So I have no idea if Duce is still at that address or if it's going to go to new people or his family or whatever. I put my information on the letter, and we will see what comes of it. But it was dropped in the mail last week, so I'm excited. If you don't know what we're talking about, tune in, listen to last week's episode for issue 94, and listen. It's all the way at the end when we get to the letters page, Postbox the Pit. We talk about a letter and a fan page letter that asked people to write into them. So in 2021, we wrote into them. I'm going to see what happens. The other fun thing that our friend Dave introduced me to is Dave's friend Paul, which is who was visiting California. He's a real nice guy. They both stopped into the world famous Golden Apple Comics on Saturday, and it was great to see Dave's face, and it was lovely to meet Paul. Paul, if you're listening, thank you so much for stopping by. It was really nice to meet you. And Paul himself is a big time toy guy, and he's a toy. He's big in like the toy refurbish and custom community. And they were telling me specifically about a website that Paul works with that probably a lot of you guys know about. Not on my radar because I tend not to delve into that world because, I only have so many hours in my life, and I know I'd get sucked into it because I think it's very, very cool. It's called thefansstrikeback.com. And Paul's involved in this. And what they do is they do custom, unique, one-of-a-kind toys and accessories. And they do them for Star Wars, G.I. Joe, Transformers, He-Man. And the way they described it was like mass-produced custom figures. So like I'm on there now and I'm looking at it. And there are there's a custom Snake Eyes Storm Shadow 50th anniversary set that looks fantastic. I'm sorry. It looks fantastic because that one's not custom. I'm so sorry. But there's a custom Gung Ho. That's the one that was custom. I was looking at. So there's a custom Gung Ho Iron Grenadier 2-pack that you can get and check it out. And just there's a whole bunch of this stuff. So if you guys are toy collectors or customizers or into that kind of a thing, check this out because there's really some good looking figures and they do good work and they mass produce them. So if you're looking for some new fun stuff, check out The Fans Strike Back, and I hope you enjoy it. Now, on to the show. So
now, Mass is ready.
And Mass starts with this great Andy Kubert cover. It's Snake Eyes on top of body of dead vipers. And what I love about this is the vipers are all different. There's an alley viper. Is it a toxo viper? There's a night viper. There's a viper. Different vipers of different ilk are laying dead at his feet. And behind him is a wall of fire. And it's the Cobra logo. And I think that's I feel like that's the Cobra, like the Cobra Air Legion logo. Like it's got those flared wings on it. I feel like that's what it's one of like the specialty logos that they use. But either way, it looks great. And Snake Eyes is all tore up. He's in his new outfit, his V3 outfit with the trench knives across his chest, and he's back to, instead of the slit visor, he's got the goggles on again. He's carrying a sword in one hand and an Uzi in the other. And he looks like he's through the ringer. It's a great cover. It's absolutely dynamite cover. 10 out of 10. I love it. I like that they cut down on the text on the page. They didn't need to add like face revealed kind of stuff, which we had last time. It still says the Snake Eyes trilogy, which is something interesting that we learned in the letters page. And I'll spoil it for you here. I didn't know this because maybe they talked about it in an earlier letters page that we missed or I just overlooked. This was originally meant to be an OGN, an original graphic novel. And I mean that in the term graphic novel that it actually means, which is a long form comic book story told, versus the term that everyone misuses it today is, they're talking about collected editions or trade paperbacks, and they call them graphic novels because they refuse to call them comic books. I had an instance of that this weekend with some customer, and call him a customer. He didn't buy anything, but at Golden Apple, where he couldn't wrap his head around the fact that for example, Watchmen is not a graphic novel. Watchmen's a trade paperback. It's a collection of other comic books, and he just couldn't. Like, his mind was blown by that. And I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, because by not accepting that, what you're saying is that comic books suck, and you're wrong. So, anyway, it was awkward. But this whole trilogy was supposed to be an original Snake Eyes Storm Shadow graphic novel. In a way, it doesn't. It just works as a Snake Eyes graphic novel. I mean, obviously, they also weave in the Dreadnought stuff. So, you would flesh it. You wouldn't have that in an OGN, and maybe he would flesh it out with more Storm Shadow stuff, because Storm Shadow's barely in this. But man, do I wish we would have gotten this as just a standalone Snake Eyes Storm Shadow graphic novel. That would have been great. As great as this is, and it is, that would have been amazing. Anyway, let's dig in to page 1.
Yo, Joe!
No turning back. So the Baroness, standing in all her glory, in the, quote, sub-basement of the Cobra Consulate building deep below the streets of New York City. And the Baroness is saying, now is the hour of her revenge. She's talking to Snake Eyes. Now you get the payback you so richly deserve for the senseless murder of my brother. I like this. They're carrying Snake Eyes down to this torture pit where these 3 dudes that we've never met before, we're about to be introduced to them. And Snake Eyes is being carried, 1, in a Christ-like pose, so that's interesting, by some Night Vipers. 2, he's also like still swaddled. He's swaddled in this like hospital linen, so no one dressed him the whole trip from were they in Sweden, Switzerland? Where were they? Yeah, Switzerland. The whole trip from Switzerland, no one ever put clothes on him. He's just swaddled in these what I'm presuming are the hospital bed sheets. And let's not go further. Larry Hama script, Mark D. Bright on pencils, Randy Emberlin inks, R.L. Parker letters, Bob Sharon coloring, Bobby Chase editor, Tom DeFalco editor-in-chief.
Yo, Joe!
This is where we're now introduced to the Payne brothers. And the Baroness pulls a hot poker out, so she's going to inflict some torture on Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is trussed up in a giant, like really, really big chain manacle thing on the wall. And the Payne brothers, in a move straight out of Terminator 2, the Payne brothers are wearing pieces that would eventually become Snake Eyes' outfit. And one of the things that I enjoy about this issue is they do this without pointing it out. It just happens naturally. And the first time you read it, you may not catch it. And then eventually when Snake Eyes is in that outfit, you realize, you go back and go, oh, wow, they're wearing all the pieces to what Snake Eyes would eventually be wearing. The one guy, and we're going to get the names here in a second, the guy with the hatchet, he's wearing Snake Eyes' his face mask with the goggles. The guy in the middle's got the bandoliers with the trench knives. And then the other guy seems to have like Snake Eyes gauntlet and a sword and stuff. So everyone's got a piece of what Snake Eyes will eventually wear. And Baroness does a little narrative lifting. We've got good use of good storytelling techniques here. Of start with the very traditional stuff. Start with the establishing shot, show us where everybody's at. Then you get a little close up over the shoulder of Snake Eyes on the Baroness. Then we get a close up of Snake Eyes' face, calm, cool, collected, as this hot poker gets really close. And then we pull back a little bit as the Baroness gets distracted. The close up of his face is great. It's gorgeous. He's good looking. He does have a lingering scar, which I really like. Shows you, kind of reminds you the extent of the damage. He looks very passive, and they didn't repair his vocal cords, right? But he still doesn't have. It doesn't seem like he has facial movement, like the muscle control, which is weird because I thought they said that he still had that intact in last issue. In other words, what I'm saying is this close-up of his face is like the only opportunity in this whole book to show a unmasked, clean-faced Snake Eyes show some kind of emotion, and they don't. He looks as flat as when he's in the rubber mask, which does show his character, so I'm fine with that. But I feel like it would have been interesting to see him give us something more than this flat look, because this really looks a lot like his rubber mask look. And then in this bottom panel, yes, that's the way his arms are. They would naturally hide his face, but they hide his face, and it's almost in that. When I say they, I mean Bright, and I love Bright's work. So, but he hides his face with his arm, so it's almost as if we're back to the whole disguising Snake Eyes' face for the sake of disguising his face. But we're beyond that now because his face has been fixed. So I kind of want to see his face in this. I really wish they would have angled that shot so we do see more of his face. This cat is out of the bag for this iteration of his face. By the way, rest in peace, this iteration of his face. It only lasts a couple more pages.
Yo, Joe!
And the Baroness is disturbed. She's about to torture Snake Eyes. She's disturbed because Destro is on his way to the consulate building. And remember that the Dreadnoks, Zorana, and Monkey Wrench, or not Monkey Wrench, Road Pig, were being held by the Joes after that accident that the Baroness caused by exploding their truck. So she's worried that she's going to be, in trouble with Destro. So she's like, "Don't touch him. I want him in full command of his senses when she gets back." She's talking to these Payne brothers. Now, these Payne brothers, introduced on the previous page, again, we're going to get to the names, but they are absolutely dressed in these medieval torture-looking S&M outfits, black leather. They've got hatchets. It's like out of the Pit and the Pendulum kind of stuff. And we'll get to them in a couple pages as Destro lands. And he makes it known that he's in charge. Because remember, Destro took over Cobra a couple issues back. So he's curious about... he's sniffing around is what it is. Because he's aware that there's some hijinks going on about operations that he's not aware of. And so he's sniffing around to see if he can get the truth out of the Baroness. And in a nice bit of comic book flop sweat, the Baroness is just perspiring because she knows that not only is she lying to Destro about Snake Eyes, but also that she has Snake Eyes. I'm sorry, lying to Destro about the Dreadnoks, Zorana, but also lying about Snake Eyes in the basement because she wants his revenge. Because remember, as we learned last issue, Snake Eyes, she believes, killed her brother. We know better. We know Snake Eyes actually killed the dudes who killed her brother, but all she saw was him standing there with the smoking gun.
Yo, Joe!
Meanwhile, over the Atlantic, wonderful way to lay out a page. There's this long shot with the C-130 flying over the ocean. There's a stillness to this that is it's nice, and it's isolating. It also just kind of, to go from that exaggerated height of torture dungeon, Destro's upset, Baroness flop sweat, it takes us to this this, what we're seeing is it's the C-130 carrying Scarlet and Doc and Lifeline. Hawk's on this plane too, and they're carrying her from Switzerland back home to the States. But it's just got this sense of far away, isolated, and calm before the storm-ness to it, which I really, really like. If you do a close-up on that plane, there's more of an urgency there. There's more, it's like that. The closer to the car, the plane, the moving vehicle, the faster the perception of this action of the scene. And the scene's pretty chill. It's worrisome because we learned that Scarlet took that bullet in the head, but it's just a concussion at this point. But bone fragments have penetrated her cortex. And she's in a coma, so there's serious stuff. But it's not an action scene, and so by pulling that camera back, that really helps set the speed that the reader's approaching this page. So little comic book storytelling tidbit for you guys there. But here, Hawkeye's very concerned. Hawk is very concerned. And in true Joe fashion, possibly one of the greatest, just a great summation of what are the Joes about. Scarlet's been shot in the head. They know her best friend, Snake Eyes, partner in crime, Snake Eyes, has been kidnapped by Cobra. And instead of like, "You're going to be okay, Scarlet. You're going to be healthy. We're going to get you through this," Hawk leans in and says, "We're going to get them for this." So the concept of getting revenge for being, for having this happen to her, that is what a Joe would want to hear. And I absolutely love it.
Yo, Joe!
Now, back in Switzerland, we're back to the Byrne Institute. What I dig about this is that we don't just let it, like Larry just doesn't let it happen, that Hunkinder sold out Snake Eyes. And remember, they were trussed up on the operating table and stuff. So he doesn't just leave it at that. The Joes follow up on it. So you get Chuckles and Roadblock in Huntkinder's office, and they know that he called the Baroness, so they know that he's in with Cobra, and they're here to, make sure he gets justice. What I also love is this picture of Roadblock. Even in this confined space and on this pretty, you're going to abduct / threaten / arrest, however you want to call it, a plastic surgeon. Roadblock still feels he needs to tote the Madeuse over his shoulder. He doesn't bring anything smaller. He's still just saying, hey, yeah, this is what I roll with. And they're here for him. It's really cool. I like it.
Yo, Joe!
Now, back in New York, and here's where we go for the Payne brothers. This is where it gets real interesting, guys. So the Payne brothers are named here. And one of them is named Desaad. And so we'll cover what the action first on the page, then we're going to get into the names. So the action is we get an establishing shot of the building. The guys are still like hanging out. There's this hot coals. There's a snake cauldron full of hot coals in front of Snake Eyes, which is actually important and key. There's a little rat running around. There's security cameras, and that's also key because later on we see that the Baroness sees what's going on. These Payne brothers they're going to play with Snake Eyes and torture him a little bit. But as Snake Eyes does, ninjas do, he wills his heartbeat to nothing. We know ninjas can do that. So they think he's actually dead. And in the meantime, he puts his foot in the guy's face and he starts to make his escape. So that's what happens on this page. But let's cover these names. The one is Desaad. Now, Desaade, not Desaad, which is how the new god Desaad is spelled. But of course, that's spelled, or that's named after, of course, and what Larry's referencing here is the Marquis Desaad, who is according to Wikipedia, he's a French nobleman, revolutionary politician, philosopher, and writer famous for his libertine sexuality. And he was into sadism, sexual cruelty, and this is, by the way, listeners, this is the part where you might want to cover your shorty's ears. He was into he mentally explored a wide range of deviations. His known behaviors include the beating of a housemaid, and some other stuff. We'll just keep it PG. And he was into it. So one of these brothers is called Desaad. Another brother is called Torquemada. Torquemada is the Grand Inquisitor of the what do you call that? The Spanish Inquisition. So Torquemada was a big time torturer during the Spanish Inquisition when they were trying to convert people to Catholicism, because again, religion always ends well. Funny note about Torquemada is it's Tomás de Torquemada. When you Google him, the short part of his wiki page, and it's his legit wiki page, but the short part that shows up in the Google search isn't actual information about him. What it is Torquemada is portrayed in the Assassin's Creed series as a leading member in the Spanish Rite of the Knights of the Templar. So the first thing that someone would learn about Torquemada, if they don't click through the Google link, is that Torquemada is a video game character. So that's great. So we've got someone named after Desaad. We've got someone named after Torquemada. And this other name is Crispo. So my brain was racking. I'm like, I don't know what that name is. Is that another kind of, like Machiavelli? Like, is there some kind of 17th century torture dude or something? Oh, no. From everything that I can find, Crispo, in case you guys didn't know this, was an American former art gallerist and convicted felon. And in 1985, Crispo was implicated in the so-called death mask murder of the Norwegian fashion student Egil Dagvesti. The murder, committed by Crispo's employee Bernard Lagueros, shocked the global art community and has since received wide international coverage by journalists. Now, I guess Crispo has never been charged in that murder, but he was charged in other various things, and he did do some crime. So, as far as I can tell, Larry named one of Snake Eyes' torturers here, the one with whom he gets his mask from after the death mask murder, which at the time was in the news, because they what year did they in 85 was the murder, and then they I just had it in me. It was tried in, was it tried in 88 or the year? Yeah, like it was tried in, yeah, I think it was tried in 88. I think I saw somewhere in here. Basically, it was tried before this comic went to press. Let's put it that way. So all of this was in the news. So the mask that Snake Eyes wears, guys, is from a guy named after a legit New York S&M death mask murder art dealer. And I'm here for it. Thank you very much.
Yo, Joe!
So Snake Eyes has kicked Crispo in the face, uses his foot to flip that hot poker up in the air, which he then catches, and he also does some acrobatic flips to get some leverage on his chain, because he's chained to the wall, and he uses that hot poker to rip his chains out of the wall. And that's pretty much the action on this page.
Yo, Joe!
My dogs are starting to run around, so I apologize if they're about to lose their stuff. He then takes that poker and he puts it right into somebody's face. It's not Crispo's face. It is Torquemada's face. That's Torquemada. So I'm giving Torquemada a hot cobra poker to the face. That'll kill you. And they show him holding his face on the bottom, but I don't think he gets up from that. Yeah, he doesn't get up from this. So that's, by the way, we haven't had a Snake Eyes kill count update in a long time, and I'm talking probably 30 some issues, because what I can recall, I don't think Snake Eyes has killed anyone in 30 some issues. We just added one to it. The last time I had in this the Snake Eyes kill count, we were at 31. So that is 32. And he then leaps from Torquemada. He's heading now towards Desaad. Now Torquemada was wearing the Snake Eyes trench knives. Now he's going towards Desaad, who is wearing what will become Snake Eyes' full body, like full leather outfit, like head to toe, the pants, basically the jumpsuit that Snake Eyes will wear. And he has a showdown with that. Snake Eyes is using his chains as a weapon, but so Torquemada, Desaad is actually kind of a proficient fighter here.
Yo, Joe!
But Snake Eyes gets the chains wrapped around his sword, which he then uses to get the sword out of Desaad's hands, and Crispo comes at Snake Eyes with that urn full of hot coals. So Snake Eyes' good face lasted approximately half an issue, everybody. That is a man with terrible luck. That poor man. He gets a face of hot coals, as from Crispo, the real life New York S&M murderer. Thank you very much.
Yo, Joe!
But our boy doesn't miss a beat, and he still has hold of one of the swords. So as these guys are going in for their kill, it's Crispo and Desaad. Snake Eyes comes up with his sword and leaves them both gutted out. So that's two more to the Snake Eyes kill count. So we're now up to 34 on the Snake Eyes kill count, everybody, in case you're keeping track at home. I know it's been quite a while, but I legitimately don't think they've shown him really kill anybody. Snake Eyes then proceeds to take the mask off of Crispo, and he covers his face, and they show that he kind of looks into the camera, which will come into play in the next panel. So there you go. Snake Eyes is free, and his face is once again recently scarred by his face is the final destination of faces. It's always meant to be destroyed unless you make a movie out of it in the year 2021.
Yo, Joe!
So upstairs, Destro is pacing, and he's pretty upset with the Baroness because she gave up she told him about the capture of the Dreadnoks, and he's upset that he doesn't know about this. Meanwhile, a Televiper shows Baroness the view from his gun camera thing, and she sees that look of Snake Eyes looking at the camera, or at least in view of the camera. That Snake Eyes is putting his face back on, and he's free, or his mask on, a mask, sorry, because it's not his. Remember, it's Crispo's. And that he's free. So now some Baroness is real worried. So she's whispering to the Televiper that just kill Snake Eyes. Just kill him before. It's more important to that she doesn't get in trouble with Destro. And he even hears all this whispering behind his back. What I dig about this, the way this page is framed, and if you're looking at it, this page is framed really to tell Destro's story. Because Destro is the power here. Destro is the important part of this moment. Baroness is on her heels. So the Baroness is not the focus of the art choices here in this page. So like you get this long shot of Destro walking to the window, this outside exterior of Destro standing in the window, valiantly looking over New York. Destro is the focus of this page. And yet all the text and dialogue is all like the subplot of it is Baroness needs to stay out of trouble. I like it. It's a subtle power choice of how you draw and what you draw.
Yo, Joe!
And another thing that I love is when you get to the Snake Eyes fights, it essentially becomes silent issues. Like there's never really a ton of talking. And in this case, you get some Night Vipers chit-chatting, and they're doing a little narrative exposition for us. But once Snake Eyes walks on screen, everyone's quiet because he just kills people. Snake Eyes drops a grenade. Which we can't say for sure he killed those night Vipers. He snaps the neck of one, so now we're up to 35. That's for sure. Let me mark this down. So now we're definitely up to 35. The grenade, I can't say for sure killed these guys. It definitely blows the door. So we'll see. So now in the main lobby, it's the next page.
Yo, Joe!
Just forgot to hit my sound effect. The building's abuzz. Everyone is abuzz because they know that this guy's loose and he's murdering everyone. What I dig about this is you got Vipers of all sort walking around, and there's one singular Crimson Guardsman that is checking out the scene, and the Televiper at the front desk is like, Baroness is not seeing. He's actually asking about seeing the Baroness. And he said, she's not seeing anybody. Can't you see we're having a crisis? He even says she's least of all some crimson guardsmen from the sticks. We don't know anything, blah, blah, blah. So this Crimson Guardsman, whoever he is, just walks out the front door. By the way, full rifle in hand out the front door. I get it inside the building carrying rifles and stuff, but you're just walking out on the streets of New York with your rifles drawn. That's what it's all about, being a Cobra Crimson Guardsman.
Yo, Joe!
And we're going to check on and learn more exactly what that is later. But I really like what Larry's doing with Crimson Guardman on that. Meanwhile, 2 levels down, Snake Eyes is in an explosive bunker. And it's like an ammo storage depot that he busted into. And he's stealing a bunch of dynamite and TNT. And now he's all kitted up. So now he's armored up. He's not full on. He's got all the weapons he needs. He's got a bag full of explosives. He's got all the S&amp torture leather daddy uniform that he needs. Snake Eyes the leather daddy. And when the Vipers encounter him, they know what's up, and they don't even fight him. They walk away, which is just fabulous.
Yo, Joe!
On the roof, Destro is still not aware that all the bad stuff is happening at the basement and at floor level. So Baroness is able to kind of shush him out, and he gives her the ultimatum that if Zorana and the Dreadnoks are not free by next week, he's gonna be forced to. Why are you fidgeting so much? Like why are you freaking out? And Baroness has to cover herself. And now there's something. By the way, I love Mark Bright's drawing of the Baroness so much. He gives her those giant round glasses. They look so great. They're just massive, massive glasses on her face. And Destro flies off in one of those Cobra aspids. Is that what they're always called? Yeah, I think they're aspids. And meanwhile, the Baroness is like, just seal the whole building. And she wants Snake Eyes dead, dead, dead. It's a nice close-up. Nice close-up of it. And again, on this page, Destro's the focus until he's not, until he's gone. It's overhead shot to establish, and what's the important thing here is the helicopter for who? For Destro. Big regal shot of Destro, kind of a half, three-quarter body shot of him regally in the door, blah, blah, blah. He's, you're over his shoulder, but he's taken up, half of the panel as he gives his order from the shadows of the helicopter. They're subservient to him. It's a shot of the helicopter lifting off again, Destro. Then you cut in close to the Baroness. Think about that pacing. It's Destro, and then you go zoom close up, and you see the Baroness's distressed face, and mobile everybody, secretarial pools, blah blah blah. Forget about taking him alive, just murder him. It's really, really, really good, really strong knowledge of comic narrative on this page.
Yo, Joe!
And now we see more about that Crimson Guardsman. It was our old friend Wade Collins, who the news box, the information box says Wade Collins served in Vietnam with Snake Eyes, Storm Shadow, and Stalker, and later became the Cobra Guardsman known as Fred Number 2, which is awesome. This page also gives us a crossover with J. Jonah Jameson. Now, we know G.I. Joe shares a universe with Transformers, and we know the Transformers share a universe with Spider-Man. So why wouldn't J. Jonah Jameson show up? He would. There's a little confusion on this page. There's a... so the Joes, it's Stalker, Storm Shadow, Fred. Fred's in his guardsman uniform. And they're hiding out in this, in a newsstand, right? And there's an old blind African-American dude that's running the newsstand. I actually thought that was the blind master. Funny, because 2 pages later, we find out it ain't the blind master. So I'm not sure who this guy is, but it's funny. Because he's, it's that old stereotype of like the blind newsstand guy. And here comes J. Jonah Jameson asking, where's the bugle? And what? It's a good thing you're blind, right? Speaking of which, rest in peace, Ed Asner, who portrayed J. Jonah Jameson on the cartoons. So the Joes are discussing this over J. Jonah Jameson yelling about him not carrying the Daily Bugle. And he almost gets caught in the blast because there's this massive explosion that comes from the floor of the Cobra Consulate. And at that point, Storm Shadow and Stalker and Wade move into action.
Yo, Joe!
They go running across the street with guns drawn. What I dig here is Wade does not go into action as a CG. He goes into action I'm presuming it's his old Vietnam camos, but he's dressed as a U.S. soldier, which I really like. And we learn here that from Storm Shadow that Snake Eyes is a fast man with a pair of crimpers and a roll of det cord, and he always had a bad habit of overestimating how much to use, which makes sense because there are just, they're probably not dead, but just concussed and unconscious Cobras laying everywhere. One of the Cobras is talking about he got past all the Vipers. He blew out all the elevators and set fire to them, set fires with thermite grenades. He's heading upwards. He intends to bring the whole building down. And this Viper is saying it over an open mic.
Yo, Joe!
So what we get is a wholesale panic. Now remember, operations, organizations, they run on bureaucracy, right? So what happens when the guy says that over the open mic? All the people that were in the building, they come flooding out. And it's everyday Joes, bureaucrats. And Wade asks, all these civilian types work here? And Stalker replies with, even Cobra needs paper pushers. So now that most of the people have evacuated the building, now 6 stories up, or halfway up, or however many up, Snake Eyes blows even more explosive. So now to cut anybody off from getting upstairs. Snake Eyes is out for revenge, and it's great. And there's no way for the Joes to get up there. This is a really nice tight shot at this last panel here. They're all looking up. It does make Storm Shadow look like he's wearing Snow Job's parka, but hey, I'll take it. And again, Stalker's also wearing snow gear, so there's that.
Yo, Joe!
And the Baroness is just, she doesn't know what to do. Destro, he can see the smoke all the way in New Jersey. I do think this Destro face feels like it was redrawn. Again, going back to a few issues back, this doesn't feel like a Mark Bright Destro face. So I'm wondering if that was redrawn. But it's Destro calling to say, like, what is happening? I can see the smoke. What are you doing? Baroness is lying and lying and lying about it. And she sees from a televiper that Snake Eyes is crawling through the ducting to get to her.
Yo, Joe!
Now, this is great. We get instead of a Stan Soapbox or, a Marvel update page, we get a Star Signals page for, again, Star Comics. And then on the opposing page, we get a man with a machine gun. And a woman screaming to murder that man, bring him down like a dog. These are incongruous images. I'm baffled at the choice they made to bring this under the Star Comics promotional line. It's baffling to me.
Yo, Joe!
And over here, we've got an advertisement for the DuckTales magazine sitting across from a page where two guys are digging up a grave. Now, we're somewhere outside of Denver, in front of the Rockies mountain range, and it is Raptor and Billy, so we're catching up on them. Remember, Raptor said, I could show you where your dad's buried. So Billy's going with him. He is having second thoughts about being a grave robber, which can't blame him. When the Blind Master's car pulls up, what? And Tyrone is driving, our friend Tyrone, the skateboard kid. That's great. Billy says, the Blind Master let you drive that thing all the way from San Francisco. And he's like, either that, it was that or let him drive. And he points to the Blind Master, which means it wasn't the Blind Master in New York. So we just have a lot of blind old black dudes. So that's how it is. Now, next page.
Yo, Joe!
Let's squeeze one last bit of action, which I love out of this comic book. And the Blind Master doesn't miss a beat. He just takes his cane, or actually, no, it's the shovel, and he cracks Raptor across the face and breaks the shovel on Raptor's face. And he's actually, Billy, don't you have any respect for your father? And Billy actually stops him and says, he was actually showing the grave to prove that he knew who the murderer was. And the object of his revenge was going to be the present day Cobra Commander. So it's not a matter of like that Zen, revenge dig two graves things. It's a matter of, I'm going to be able to not only get the guy who killed my dad, but I'm also going to be able to take down the current Cobra Commander, who's causing the whole world a lot of big trouble. So I feel like that's the kind of thing that the Blind Master could get behind. And next issue, we're going to get the Snake Eyes trilogy. It's going to end with the hexagram completed. So good. Such a good, fun issue. Let's go to the post box of the pit. We got a few fun letters. We got letters from John Halverson from Mount Morris, Missouri, or Michigan, Mount Morris, Michigan. Declan McLaughlin out of Derry, North Ireland. That's fun. Richard Amaro out of Sacramento, California. And then this is Richard who asks, when will the Snake Eye Storm Shadow graphic novel be on sale? And this is where Larry reveals that the Snake Eyes graphic novel has been turned into a special 3-part story, which you're now in the middle of. So, I wonder what the choices, I wonder what that decision was, because man, I would have killed for a fully fleshed out Snake Eyes graphic novel that was all about, and I mean a real graphic novel that was all about, him getting his face fixed, and then this connection to the Baroness. Just that would have been so great. And then we got a letter from Stephen Gayor with no address, and this is fun that that Larry reveals that the inspiration for Broca Beach actually comes from a variety of real life sources. During World War II, the British constructed defensive shore batteries disguised as amusement parks at suspected invasion sites. So gun turrets were actually hidden inside carousels, machine guns hidden behind carny booths, etc. That's really fun. And then they talk a little bit about the Witness Protection Program and blah, blah, blah. And it says here, according to the New York Times, the Russians really do have a mysterious base that is bombarding the U.S. with ultra-low frequency radio waves for years. It may not be a paranoia wave, but none of our techs seem to be able to figure out what it's for. Glasnost or not, Gorby is not about to tell us. And what has happened in the last couple of years down in Cuba, everybody? All those people were reporting that weird, mysterious sickness that they think was coming from like some kind of tight focused beam of energy. So they've been doing this since 1989. When will we learn? I'll tell you what, though. We're going to learn next week what happens in G.I. Joe 96. And remember, guys, Andrew Crispo, whom Snake Eyes got his mask off, which he then proceeds to wear for the next few issues. Crispo was a legitimate, real, and I think he's still alive, S&M death mask murder guy. So that's awesome. And now you Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.